Coming up on SBU TV, we look into a new video board in the Riley Center, and a fatal shooting stirs controversy in Columbus, Ohio. Hello, and welcome to SBU TV. I'm Katie Brown.
And I'm Nate Discavage. St. Bonaventure Bonnies fans will be treated to a new video board, assuming construction can stay ahead of schedule.
Instead of being filled with roaring fans, the sound of machinery echoes through the Riley Center at St. Bonaventure University. Construction continues even with the season opener exhibition game less than a month and a half out. Bonnie's athletic director Tim Kenney says the construction is expected to finish on time barring any delays and that it should not have a large impact on either of the basketball teams.
They're going to be using the court in the Richter Center for a couple of weeks on just individuals. So all this should be done by October 2nd when we begin full practices for the teams.
The project appeared to be nearing completion earlier before a test revealed that the roof needed extra reinforcement.
It's in the rafters. There was some, once you get it up, there was some snow load stabilization we had to do for the roof. There'll be some welding and stuff in the next couple of weeks to make sure if you get a heavy snow, the roof is stabilized.
While the donations covered all the video board, there were some concerns among students that they would have to pay for the cost of construction through university fees.
We got a couple of different things. On the roof, it was a combination of some of the gift and some of the deferred maintenance that the school had to put into it anyway. We had money from the Atlantic 10 on basketball initiatives, and we had earmarked it from last year.
For SBU TV, I'm Nate Discavage.
There was an evacuation drill Thursday afternoon in the Riley Center. However, this was not related to the construction on the scoreboard. Tune in next week for a follow-up on the scoreboard's process.
On Wednesday night, yet another fatal shooting involving police occurred in Columbus, Ohio. This victim, a 13-year-old boy, Sammi has the story.
Columbus, Ohio is now the center of attention after a police shooting late Wednesday night. The victim, only 13 years old, one of the youngest this year. Tyree King was wanted for questioning in an armed robbery Wednesday night, but questioning turned to shooting when the young boy pulled a BB gun that police mistook as a real weapon.
They shooting them! Oh my God! Oh my God, they shooting!
We found a gun at the scene near the suspect that we were trying to apprehend, and this is what that gun looked like.
It was a BB gun that looks a lot like the gun that Columbus police carry.
Citizens took to Twitter to express their opinions on the shooting. With racial tensions rising, I took to our hallways to ask students their opinion on the issue at hand.
Both sides kind of rushing to judgment has led to a real big split and divide in what people think of the United States, and that leads to tension both with police brutality or racial tension we see in the United States. So I think there's definitely a solution to this, but it's going to be tough to get people to kind of stop thinking the way they do and kind of try and come together and base things off facts and not just emotions and whatnot.
It won't ever stop until we take a stand ourselves and come together as a community, and then we could work on the bigger problem of, how do we stop these shootings?
The question on these students' minds is the same as the one on our own. How do we put an end to this violence? For SBU TV, I'm Sammi.
Police are currently investigating Tyree King's shooting.
This September marks the 15th year since our country experienced one of the worst terror attacks on its soil. Yearly, the St. Bonaventure community comes together to observe the tragic event.
To honor those who lost their lives in 9/11, St. Bonaventure University holds their annual memorial service.
May it also teach us to learn how to live with one another as brothers and sisters in peace and in harmony.
To Lieutenant Colonel Sean D. Coulter, the significance of the ceremony is undeniable.
A lot of guys went through a lot, and it means a lot to them. And to see that in a civilian college, a private, Catholic, university, it truly means a lot that people are going to take the time and kind of remember that, we are part of one big fight here in this country.
Even hundreds of miles from home, New York City residents find comfort in knowing Bonaventure honors their day so intensely.
It's like you get that touch even though like it's not in the heart of where it happened. Like you want to remember those people who was affected here too, or just like to other people in the community.
I respect it. There were so many people who lives got lost. For them to even acknowledge the fact that those people's lives were lost. Bonaventure's doing the best they can to take everybody's feelings to account, because they didn't have to do it, but they did it.
So there's always going to be that grief there. But I mean, I think the fact that we're having a ceremony and we've got the new buildings built up in New York and the country just keeps on going forward, it's by definition we're bouncing back.
For SBU TV, I'm Kathryn Brown.
The service was held at the 9/11 Memorial on campus last Friday.
With winter fast approaching, you won't want to skip your flu shot this year. Amelia Kibbe has more.
In less than a week, it will be fall at St. Bonaventure University. But officials at the Cattaraugus County Health Department are getting ready for a different kind of season. Flu season. Director of Patient Services, Susan Andrews, says while the flu doesn't usually peak until February or March, early cases can spring up, so it's never too soon to get vaccinated.
Any person who is 6 months of age and older should always receive the flu vaccine.
Andrews says the virus changes year to year, so scientists predict which combination of its strands will be most effective for creating each year's vaccine.
We have quadrivalent, which protects against 4 strains of flu, 2 A types and 2 B types.
Flu often hits the very young and older populations the hardest, but St. Bonaventure Wellness Director Christopher Anderson says college students should be vaccinated as well.
I mean, I think flu shots are a good idea for anybody, and when you get a large concentration of people together in one spot.
Anderson says while the vaccine doesn't guarantee someone won't get sick, getting a shot greatly reduces the chances.
Cattaraugus County health officials continue to plan 13 clinics in the county over the next month and a half, with one of them being right here at the Wellness Center in Doyle Hall at St. Bonaventure University.
Cost of the vaccine is $25, but it is covered by most insurance policies as well as the student health plan. With SBU TV, I'm Amelia Kibbe.
For a list of the clinical locations, go to www.cattco.org.
Have you registered to vote yet? Don't worry if you haven't, you're not alone. Chris Gilbert has the story.
Presidential election is on its way, but will the college-age demographic change their pattern of history and finally exercise their right to vote?
Say that since 1962, college-age students have been the lowest voting rate demographic.
One common misconception of St. Bonaventure students is they can't vote while at school, but that's not true. It's easy. Wherever you live on campus, you register that as your home address. If you do that, you'll be voting here in November. I interviewed 10 St. Bonaventure students. 8 were registered to vote, but only 2 knew how they were going to cast their ballot while on campus.
It's kind of a long paperwork process, which I think deters some people, especially on college campuses. You know, you're away from home and you have to submit 100 different papers, but we're going to try to streamline that and make it as easy as possible.
For a long time, and by not voting, we're allowing the older generations to make decisions for us.
A lot of people aren't informed of the issues and they don't want to make an uninformed decision, and so they just decide not to vote.
Another way to cast your vote is through the absentee ballot, which you can get sent to your place of residence here on campus. For SBU TV, I'm Chris Gilbert.
St. Bonaventure's College Republican and Democrat clubs will be holding their annual voting drive later this month. Absentee ballots in New York are due on November 5th.
A student journalist traded her pen for a bow and arrow. Lian Bunny has the story.
St. Bonaventure Jr. Hailey Gattuso got a small taste of what it's like to be a real-life Katniss Everdeen. She took an 8-hour class at the Cuba Rod and Gun Club in Cuba, New York, to earn a bow hunting license. Gattuso says, being from the suburbs of Buffalo, she never sees hunters. She was caught off guard by how much hunters have to learn and memorize.
There's a lot of rules. So they're like 12-year-olds raising their hand. They knew everything, and I was there just like, yeah, I read the book.
She attended to write a first-hand account of her experience for an online newspaper covering local events in the Olean area, Tap into Greater Olean. The first time she held the bow and arrow, she says she was nervous. But once she continued shooting, she hit her target.
The sight is part of a required class for Bonaventure journalism majors. I actually thought I was holding it upside down. and my arm was like shaking. I was struggling. You're supposed to get them all like close to each other, and I was all over the place. It was fun though. It was a new experience.
The class also taught Gattuso hunting ethics, how to cut organs out of the deer, and how to use a tree stand platform for hunting. At the end of the day, the students took a 50-question test to earn their bow hunting license. Gattuso passed. While she says she gained a lot more respect for hunters, she most likely will not be using her new skill in the future.
Probably not unless there's like an apocalypse and I need to get food for my family or something. But other than that, no, I don't think so.
With SBU TV, I'm Lian Bunny.
The class also had a contest to see who could accurately gauge the distance between themselves and their targets. Gattuso says the prize was tape used to tie up deer, so she was okay with losing. I'm not sure if I would try bow hunting. How about you, Nate?
You know, I actually did dabble in it a little bit when I was younger, but it wasn't my thing.
Only a young thing?
Yeah, no, I wasn't too good at it.
Yeah, I understand that.
A local clothing store is preparing its business for a hefty t-shirt order. Natalie Kutchko has the scoop.
Located in the heart of Allegheny, New York, stands a renowned clothing warehouse. They go by the name of Studio 4 East. The location has existed for nearly 30 years and is owned by 3 businessmen. The store's crew is gearing up for one of the biggest orders of the year, Keg Clash. Owner Peter Wintermantle described the event.
I think it's an event that goes on between the off-campus students, and it's kind of a competition, I guess, between the East and West. Residents of the East Side and West Side.
Keg Clash is organized by students who are upperclassmen at St. Bonaventure. It is an off-campus tradition that is carried on for years. The order consists of about 600 shirts, but Wintermantle isn't complaining. He gave me a behind-the-scenes tour of the shirt-making process.
The squeegee pulling the white ink, pushing the white ink through the screen onto the shirt, and then the shirt continues around the machine to a spot dryer, we call it, which dries the shirt a bit. Then they come around again for a second coat.
In a demanding economy, business can be hard-pressed for shops like Studio 4 East.
We sell shirts to different stores throughout the country. We've always had designs that we do and sell in other places, so we're not just dependent on the local economy.
The owner also added that the store does have an online presence and is slowly turning to Twitter to advertise their business.
It's a little slower now than it used to be. We used to do an awful lot of mail order shirts, designs for catalogs that everybody got in their mail, but that was kind of taken over by the internet.
For now, the owners simply look forward to sticking around the area for a long time to come. For SBU TV, I'm Natalie Kutchko.
To learn more about Studio 4 East, check out their styles at www.shirtheads.com.
What brings Confederate flags, cannons, and petticoats to Olean's Gargoyle Park? Madeleine Faircloth tells us more.
The Civil War. In Olean, gunshots and battle cries were heard throughout this past weekend as Civil War reenactors performed the Battle of Carfax Valley, West Virginia, where Confederates, outnumbered by nearly 4,000 men, escaped Union forces by sneaking down the mountainside in the middle of the night. Although this battle only had 20 to 30 participants, they ranged from 40-year-old reenactment veterans to first-timers with a love for history.
Volunteers set up anywhere from weekends to weeks at a time in these mock battle sites. So why spend time and money putting on these historical performances? Some local reenactors told us just that.
I had an uncle that was killed on the first day at Gettysburg. He was in the 149th Company K.
Wow.
But there's a lot of history.
I started going to reenactments and watching them, and I decided that those people that were doing it were having too much fun, and I wasn't.
And I love the history, because women, you just think women are strong now, but they were very strong back then, being able to follow their husbands and their brothers and being right alongside them, and some women disguised themselves as men to go fight next to their husbands so they didn't have to leave them.
Reenactors have something that they call the moment, when you feel like you're really there. Shiloh, the 150th Shiloh being one of them, and I can still, the hair stands up on the back of my neck. Foggy morning, you could hear the cannons, you could hear the Confederates yelling. That's what you live for, is those moments where you're like, this is what they really experienced.
For SBU TV, I'm Madeleine Faircloth.
For more information on other local historical events or how to get involved, visit www.cattcomemorial.com.
It's a special year in the Catholic Church, and a local parish has a unique reason to celebrate. Ethan Kibbe has the story.
Ordinarily, the Catholic Church celebrates Jubilees every 25 years. Last year, Pope Francis broke from tradition, declaring a special Jubilee Year of Mercy. According to Father Greg Dobson, the Jubilee is of special significance to St. Mary of the Angels Parish in Lian. This is because the parish has a holy door.
The holy door is a door designated as a very special sign of pilgrimage and entrance.
Symbolically, by walking through a holy door, believers enter a new journey with Christ.
Behind me is a specially designated holy door through which Catholics can pass to gain plenary indulgences.
The Church teaches that indulgences lessen the time the soul spends in purgatory after death. Dobson says this means the soul of the deceased will reach heaven more quickly.
Indulgence is an opportunity really to celebrate the freedom of God's love and God's grace and God's blessing.
Holy doors symbolize Jesus, who said in the Gospel of John, "I am the door. If anyone enters by me, he will be saved." Dobson says the holy door also represents Mary, who is the door through whom Christ entered the world.
Mary is a symbol for Christ. Christ is the door, and Mary is that entranceway as well.
For SBU TV, I'm Ethan Kibbe.
The door will remain open through November 20th, the Solemnity of Christ the King.
That's all for us in the Coop Lab. I'm Katie Brown.
And I'm Nate Discavage. Thank you for watching and have a great day.